Peace be to you. Ain't no problem of evil. Let us begin with a question.
Kia ora, and now my haramai to another episode of Curiously Catholic, the Evangelion podcast. We're on episode 40. That's right, we have 40 podcast episodes, which we have done over the past 4 years, because we started this ministry in 2020 because I'm insane. Also, God calls us and then he qualifies us. We don't get to choose these things. Anyway, we decided to start Evangelion in 2020, and the ministry of Evangelion is evangelism, going out into the world and making disciples of all nations. Seems like a bad idea, seeing as though we had a global pandemic and the complete lockdown of most countries in the world, especially when what we're trying to do is bring speakers from overseas to New Zealand. But we did it anyway, and 4 years later, we have 40 episodes, and in this episode, we're going to be talking to none other than Shana Lorando. You may know her as Valere. She's an artist, she is a friend, and she is a sort of a family member. We've known each other for a while. I'm really excited to get stuck into the interview with her. We're going to talk about being an artist. We're going to be talking about some of her music and her journey. But before we get into that, I just want to get you excited about what we're doing here. I converted to Catholicism when I was 22. I can't remember what year that was. It was a while ago. I'm 35, you can do the maths. And when I converted, I just got really excited. I found the source of life. I found the truth and the way to live. And I just wanted everyone to know about it. And it didn't seem like everyone was as excited as me. Fast forward a few years, I'm now in New Zealand, and I found this amazing country, and I found these fantastic people, and I don't see why we can't make the whole of New Zealand Catholic. So join the mission and get involved. See how you can be part of this mission by clicking on the link below and going out for a coffee with me. You give me your details, I'll give you a phone call, and we'll have a chat. So get involved and pray for me. Pray for me that I'm doing the right thing, and see how you can be part of this massive journey. But without further ado, I'm going to crack on, and if we have no more technical failures, I'm going to invite Shana. Hey, kia ora.
Hi, Dom. Hey, I'm Shana Graham now.
Oh,
Do you know
shit.
that?
Yeah, that just shows how long I've known you. I was going to introduce you as Shana Jorando.
Giorando. Hey, man, look, it's cool. It's still on my passport. So
Oh, don't go
see
traveling.
if
Don't
the
go traveling.
government doesn't know, then it's okay that you don't know. You know what I mean?
I do know. I was there when it happened.
You were there.
I've met your children.
Yeah. Can you explain to the audience how we're sort of family members? That made me laugh so hard.
Is it the nose?
I thought it was because I'm your daughter's godmom. But also it's because of her
the nose
nose.
thing. So just for you guys to know, so I was a chaplain at the Catholic chaplain at the University of Auckland for 7 years, and during that time, Shana was doing a degree there. She did marketing, music,
Something.
a whole bunch of
Commerce and
stuff.
music.
She
Yeah.
spent a whole bunch of money, and now she has a piece of paper saying that she did spend that money. Anyway, whilst we were there, we became friends, and we realised that we were pretty good mates. And then eventually, Shana started working at the chaplaincy with me. I don't know at what point we became hashtag ride or die, but we were out we were out shopping for your sister for her birthday one
Yes.
time, and we went into this bougie kind of
Aesop. It
skincare
was
place.
Aesop in
You
Auckland.
call it what you want. And we were kind of running with this whole we're brother and sister thing, and we said to the lady, "Can you tell we're related?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's the nose." And just gonna for those of you watching this, you'll notice that the video is way better than it was yesterday or the last episode, but also you'll see my nose. Shana, can we get a close up of your nose? Oh, beautiful. Not up your
Um,
nose, just the
look,
nose.
I don't have a nose. I'm Filipino. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
have one of the flattest noses. Like, I'm Lilo and Stitch level flat nose. You know what I mean?
You know,
And I don't think Dom is Lilo and Stitch nose. I don't know
I,
what this sis was talking about.
but yeah, so that's what she said. She said it was the nose, and me and Shana have been brothers and sisters since. But yes, also later after that, long after that, I had a baby, and I asked Shana to be the godparent to that baby,
I'm a very
and
proud
so
godmother.
that's how we're related spiritually, I guess.
Yes.
So that's how me and Shana became more
God
officially related.
co-parents.
I feel like people are not going to care about this at all.
No, they will. I
Okay,
will make them. They
okay.
will. Just kidding.
So that's enough about me and you. We've known each other for years and years, and the whole time I've known you, you've been a musician of sorts.
Yes.
We got you to play at masses. You've been releasing albums. Blue is
Mhm.
your EP, is that right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And actually, if you are a regular listener of the podcast, we have a segment called The Catholic Life, and that's what Shana's song. But yeah, so that's one of Shana's songs. Look her up. Seriously, I've listened to that EP since she released it. Maria, that's another good one you did.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, she's on Spotify under Valere, Valere, and you've
Yep.
been doing music for a long time. You started on the ukulele, and
Yep.
I don't know what this was because this was before knew you, but I remember seeing like a video or some images of you being like a massive concert, and you were playing the ukulele. Um,
Yeah. That was. Yeah. That was a past life. I mean, I entered a lot of competitions when I was younger. And
yeah.
that was like a cool thing. Yeah, it must have been a video. I was trying to get a scholarship, so I put a video together of all the things that. Anyway, it's a thing, but
No, yeah, and I guess being Filipino, you are a musician. That seems to be a stereotype. If you're not doing karaoke, you're some kind of singer or musician. Is that true, or am I picking at a very small thing there?
I don't know.
You
I
don't know?
mean,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
moving to New Zealand, I was introduced to a lot of different nationalities, and the one thing that I've been told by other people that aren't Filipinos is that all Filipinos sing. Um, I don't know. I put my foot in it there, but anyway, I'd like because obviously have you been Catholic your whole life, or was there a conversion moment, or is it a bit of both?
I think I was definitely like raised Catholic, but
Hmm.
I had a reversion as well. I think we're kind of more culturally Catholic than
Hmm.
yeah. Um, and it was around maybe when I was like 14 or something like that I had a reversion. I've had a kind of multiple reversions in some ways. Yeah, so like yeah, I'm not very consistent, you know what I mean?
I mean, just read the Bible. The people of God are never consistent.
That's true.
Um, so is there one particular reversion that seems to be fundamental for you, or that seems to be kind of, you know, the main thing that's like, right now I'm going to be Catholic, and then from there it was just a series of deepenings of your faith?
Yeah, I think actually relates to music as well. Um I went to a life teen camp in 2015. Um so I had already had my reversion, like the first one when I was a teenager. I was serving at youth camps, and then I went to uni, and I just kind of like, I mean, chaplaincy really helped, like in terms of just being there and like, talking to people of the same faith. Yeah, yeah, sure. Thank you. And that's why I work there. But I think it was around that time, like maybe my second year, that I was just like, what the heck is this actually? Like, um, and then I ended up going to the Philippines and then coming back and then serving at a youth camp. And then I was just like, why am I even here? Like, I don't even think I believe this thing anymore. Um, and it wasn't until like I was serving at the worship band in the worship band, and I had like an experience where during I think one of the nights, like the worship nights, I was only meant to play guitar. I wasn't meant to lead worship at all. I hadn't led worship in ages. Um, and then I remember it was when they persist in the Blessed Sacrament. We all knelt down, and it just I started singing. I started singing, and like it was like set afire by United Pursuit. And honestly, like it felt like God just kind of felt like I was a glove, and God was just like, like you know. And my hands were up. I started singing. Like it honestly hasn't happened since. And I just probably sang the best slash the most I ever had. Like the song is really short, or like it's a very repetitive song. I remember seeing the friend of mine like kind of recording, or I think he was recording it or something, or seeing the time. It was like that song we sung as a congregation for like 30 minutes, and I was just leading it. I was leading, and it just was crazy. So I was like, "Oh, dang, okay, so this is real." Like, oh, I can't argue with this anymore. Um, yeah, and nothing like that has ever happened since. It's just been like really like little like morsels, but it was crazy that God used music to get me back.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
so what would you say your relationship to music is? I mean, obviously, I mean, it's something that I've always kind of struggled with, and we've debated a lot. What makes you a creative? You know,
yeah,
everyone's a creative and all that, and we won't get into it because it's boring. Anyway,
yeah.
so yeah, what is your relationship to music? How has music affected your life? At what point were you like, this is going to be my thing?
That's a good question. I don't know. Like it's always a surprising thing to me because um like I grew up like singing, and I loved it, you know, and like I always wanted to be like a singer when I was a kid. But I don't, you know, and like started writing songs and everything like that. And um I didn't really think about what my relationship to music was. Like really, it just was like this thing that I thought I was really good at, and so I'm gonna do it. And I had this ambition to do it. And then it wasn't really until like that experience, I think, where it was just like, oh wow, like maybe not that experience, but beforehand when I was serving at youth camps and stuff, I definitely had a time in my life where I felt like God was using my music to reach people. Um, and like whenever I would perform, I was probably around like year 10, year 11 or something. I don't know. When I would perform, I'd feel his presence. It felt like I was just this connected kind of thing. Like he was just there. I was like this conduit, and it was just like flowing out. Um, and then I kind of lost it a little bit. Like, so I find myself like happening upon that like thing. Um, because I'm always warring with it. I'm always warring with it because of my desire to like my previous desire to kind of just use it as my career or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then it not really working out that way, and you know like in on paper. Um, and then I'm like, oh, I'll just give it up, you know. And then honest to God, like some random person would just message me, be like, hey, I just letting you know I've just been listening to like it's literally just like a handful of songs, and they're songs about God like, that I've written, and they've just chucked it in like the EP or whatever, and they'd be like, "Oh, I've just been listening to the song, and it's just really helped me." So I just wanted to say, every time, every time I'm like, I'm done with this,
Mm.
someone just comes up and just messages me,
Mm-hmm.
and I told God, I was like, I'm not gonna do this if it's not helping anybody. So it just feels like he's saying, well, okay, well, let's just keep going then,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just gonna tell someone to let you know that it's still helping that one person.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know currently. Like I'm at the moment always surrendering it to the Lord, because I'm like, I'm done with this. Like I'm done with like thinking about it. Like I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
complicate it anymore. I'm always afraid of pursuing it, but so far doors are opening, so I'm just gonna keep walking through.
Yeah.
If he wants to use it, sure. If not, yeah, like, so I don't know. It's a complicated relationship. I don't know why I said that in a British accent, but
We're related. I'm British,
because
so
it's the
that's
nose. It's the
fine.
nose.
Nobody knows what it is. Um, well, yeah, because I mean, I've been wanting to have this interview with you for a long time because you're like, you know, you're my sister, and you, but you're also like, I guess my closest friend that's also a musician. I have other friends that are musicians, but obviously we work together and we're related, so it makes things a bit. We've always had deep conversations,
Mm.
and yeah, so because like music's such an interesting thing. Like recently, I've just discovered a band called the Hillbilly Thomists, and I don't know what it is about it, but that music it just resonates right here. Just the and the lyrics are amazing. I mean, they're literally a bunch of Dominican friars, so the theologically sound. I would like to think. I mean, I'm no theologian, um, but yeah, when I listen to that music, in fact, there's this one particular song called "Hard Times," and I've been at work, and one of my friends had just had a really rubbish time, and I sent her that song. I said,
Cool.
when I said to her, it's like, when my heart aches, this is like a balm to my soul, and it's just a song. It's just and like so many times, just random songs. It's never not always Christian songs. It's like, um, it's like secular songs, and they can pierce through like even the words they're saying and how this it's like it just articulates something deep inside. Um, so like music really is a gift. Like Chris West talks about this all the time. Like he uses music, pop songs from his day, and he like interprets other songs and talks about them. Like secular artists as like the twisted mystics. They can get to that like essence of reality through music. And I don't know if you can you relate to anything I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah, totally. Totally. Like, I think there was a time even where I wasn't listening to worship music for a while.
mm,
Um, and I think I was actually working at the chaplaincy at the time. I was just like, oh, nah, like, And then for some reason, it was like one day where I just like, oh, I'll just put, a song on. Just like brought me to tears. Like, it's just, yeah, like, I think, yeah, it definitely has a way of just disarming you because you can kind of, you can put up armor with your thoughts, I think. Um you can like logically rationalize things and then that sometimes can harden you up. Like but music is so and in some cases it can be so pure that it like you said it pierces through. Like it kind of wafts over the armor that you build.
mm,
And it's just like um yeah, so I mean, in good and in bad ways. That's why it's so like I also find myself if I'm listening to music that isn't good, like not like good as in like subjective good, but like actually like like quite crude or whatever, it affects me. Like it does
mm,
affect me.
mm.
And so it's the same with like yeah. And it's because people put their like heart and soul into that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah, and I think
yeah.
this brings me on to like your latest song release. It's my wife's been listening to it a lot, so it's been playing around the house, and then I've been listening to it a lot recently, and the music video that comes along with it as well. And like I think that's really it's what's really cool about it is it's obviously an understanding of life that you've come to, a deeper appreciation of the reality that you're living, which is now you you are a daughter and you've been a daughter your whole life, but now you're a mother with a daughter, and you've
Hmm.
come to realize something deeper, and you've written something that I feel I was saying to you earlier. It's like I can't really connect to, but
Yeah.
I can. When I was listening to my wife listening to it, I was like, I need to talk to Shana about this because this is really profound. Um, so can you tell me a bit about Lily's March? It's called, right?
Yep. Yep.
I named it incorrectly in my last episode, so but I put the link. I put the link to the YouTube video. So go back to the last episode, episode 39, and the links in the description.
It's all good, man.
I called it
People get my name wrong all the time,
yeah,
and
I
it's
called it
just my life.
Lorando's Way. No, I called it Lily's Way, but it's Lily's March, and it's
Yep.
beautiful because your little Lily Philly, has the
Yeah.
cutest little run, and it's in the video, and just the joy that's on that little human's face is just
Bruh.
just
She's like
coming
100%
across.
joy.
Beautiful.
100% sanguine, like just pure joy that will light up the melancholic hearts of her parents. Like, that she's a gift. Like, we need her in this
Yeah,
family.
beautiful. So yeah,
Yeah.
tell me a bit more about that song. What were you thinking when you wrote it, and like how has there been any impacts that from others or to yourself after the release?
Yeah. Um, I wrote the song um while I was trying to put Lily to sleep, actually. Like it was I think she must have
Hashtag
been three
parent
months
life.
old, straight up. And I don't know if it was in this house or if it was like in because we were living with Hayden's mom at the time, like when Lily was born, probably around her house. But I remember being like, "Oh, okay, cool. Well, look, I'm awake, and like maybe I should try to write a song or whatever, you know." So I had been like recording little like snippets of like just voice memos, and because it was either that or I was singing Silent Night for some reason. It was some Christmas songs, like how I was swaying. But anyway,
Hmm.
so I was swaying and it was like kind of like a march. And then I started singing the melody. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I recorded it and I think I might have sung over it the words to the chorus already. And I was like, what is this about? Because usually when I write, or most like um I don't set out to do it, but like more often than not, I write the melody and then I try to wrap the words around. And so I don't actually know what the song is about until like close to the end. Um, I'm trying to piece it myself. So it's probably me externally processing
Hmm.
because that's also how I how I find out how I feel when I talk
Hmm.
it through to someone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, true. Anyway, so when I wrote that chorus, I was like, what is this song about? And that sort of formed into like, wow, this is how I feel about being Lily's mom and how yeah, I was grappling with like, whoa, I am a daughter and I'm imagining or just like reflecting on how my mom raised me. And then now I'm raising a daughter who I see myself in. And I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out, man. Because I'm like, damn, I don't know how to do this. And my mom was the man, like, or the woman. And I'm like, I'd have no clue what to do. And but this little girl is like relying on me. How am I like I felt like such a child. And I am a child, but like um and so I was reflecting on what gifts my mom gave me as you know like she gave me a lot of courage or like just this kind of um yeah, she legitimately is like the person I go to whenever I'm like scared. I'm like, hey, she's always so encouraging. She's like, nah, you can do it, you can do it, man. Like, and she's always like a problem solver, that kind of thing. I'm not like that at all. I'm very like scared all the time. But I feel like what I can give Lily is warmth and love and affection. I feel like I just want her to feel like I want her to know that her mom loves her
Mm.
as she is. And so that's what I just wanted to say in the song. I was like, look, I'm
Mm.
not like my mom who encourages me, like, and I'm gonna try to, but I think what I can give you is like, no matter what happens to you, you're gonna be loved no matter what.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was just so that was the song, and uh, it's been really awesome actually putting it out because I was a little bit scared to put it out because I think like before writing the song, I had um well, I was pregnant with Lily, right? And I was kind of scared, like, oh my gosh, like what is music gonna look like for me as a
Mm.
mom? Like, I don't see a lot of women out there like doing music as mums or like pregnant or whatever. So I
Mm.
had actually like posted up on this like woman's page, New Zealand music like woman's page, being like, hey, anyone out there, mums? I just want to know. And all these people like commented, like no one had like I had never seen them before, and they just were like, yeah, I am, and we had really awesome chats, and that got me started into like looking into like mother artists and that kind of stuff. And but I had been reading free things of like, oh yeah, like I don't really want to be just like pegged as a mom, like that's not my shtick or whatever, like that kind of thing. And like, I just want to be, known as this artist. And I was grappling with that too because I'm like, well, if I put the song out, they're just gonna know me as oh that mom. But then I realized like, yeah, well, because I am like that's my main thing.
Mhm.
Like it's I shouldn't be ashamed of that. Like
Mm.
that's my life. Like,
Mm.
and I actually don't like that term. I'm not just a mom. I'm like, girl, being a mom's like the greatest thing you could be. Like, if you like, I mean, obviously, if anyway, like, I mean that, and like, just I don't know how to explain it, but like, it just yeah, I could rant about that all day. I don't even want to go in there, but that's why I was sort of scared, was because I'm like, if I put this out, what are people gonna think of me?
Mm.
And
Is it like
like,
people would actually see you if you put
oh yeah, it's probably like one of the most like vulnerable songs
Mm.
I'd written
Oh
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
literally, you
That's
know,
that's what really came across, like, because with Jess listening to it, it's like I could tell that she was getting a lot out of it. Now my wife, she's a brick wall when it comes to what's going on inside, and so if she comments on anything, it means that it had an effect on
wow,
her, you know. And so she was like, she was
praise God.
listening to it regularly, and then she was like, "Oh, this is Shana's song," which means I'm having a profound experience because she told me. Uh,
Yeah,
she just like she's
wow,
everything happens here, and she doesn't
yeah,
realize that it doesn't come out on her face. But yeah, I think yeah, it was obvious that this song was very profound, not only for you, but that you were articulating something that is profound in other mums. And I,
yeah,
I wanted to talk to you a bit about the video because you had obviously my wife and kids and a whole bunch of
mm,
others. And yeah, like as much as you're able, who was involved? What were their experiences with the
sure.
whole story?
Um, it was really special. I think so I talked to so Hayden, my husband, he was the one who filmed it, and the part of the idea of like these kind of family portraits was because like Hayden is really awesome at like filming, and his kind of sensibility is quite photographic. He can do photography and film, so when he actually films things, they look like moving photos. So I was like, oh, that'd be a really cool idea, like because it's kind of like a family thing, and I had this idea of just mums and daughters kind of posing, but they're like moving into the poses. So and so I thought of, and I knew so many people around me who had daughters, like who were my age, like your wife, and people in where I live, So yeah, I just it was quite an organic um like experience. Um I just had the idea of having like fabric behind us and um all that. So like, but like it was really dictated by like when were we gonna meet these people? How are the kids gonna be? The kids like directed it all. I wasn't even there when we filmed Jess
Mm.
because I don't know where I was, but it was
Probably
just
wasn't
Hayden.
sleeping well or something.
Oh yeah, something like probably.
Mm.
But so I was just it was a lot of just like trust in the process, I think. Um and even like with our shots with Lily, we were wanting like these moody shots, but there was nothing moody about that. Like she was just running around. She had like four cookies because we had to like,
Yeah,
you know, we were playing ABBA. She was running like that. Yeah, that's joy and cookies. That's
yeah.
sugar and joy in
Seriously,
that
you gotta
video.
watch the video. You just, it's beyond words.
There's actually a behind the scenes video. Like Emmeline, who's my best friend, she did my makeup. She was videoing. We were trying to get this like real moody shot. I was sitting on this like box. Hayden is like filming me like straight on or whatever. I don't even know if that shot got in there, but trying to sing my best. Lily's below, like pulling my leg, throwing the biggest tantrum in the whole entire world, and I'm trying to sing this song, and Emlyn just like videoing the whole thing. So it'll be um, but it's crazy, Dom. Like when we were filming that part of the video, that was the first time I sung that song to Lily.
And she didn't
Like
like
with
it.
her being yeah, she was like, "What is this?" Um, but like her awake, like obviously it was kind of
Okay.
singing it to
Oh
her and
yeah.
putting her to sleep, but she had never heard it, and I was getting choked up, like because it
Oh.
felt like I was like telling her what I was, it was the first time I was telling her this
Mm,
thing. She probably doesn't understand, but like
mm.
I was like, "Whoa." Um, she's very cute because she knows it's Lily's March. She knows it's like I don't know if she knows it's a song about her, but whenever it's playing, she's like, "Oh, it's my march. It's my march." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "You know what? Yeah, it is your march, Lily. It is." Yeah. So that's I don't know. Is anything that I guess I could
No, I
say
think
about the
that's really
video?
beautiful. Like, yeah, it's a really organic thing. And has anybody gotten to back? Anyone who listened to it gotten back to you? Have you got any good responses from it?
Yeah, I've been really like I don't know if surprised is like a the word for it, but I've just been really moved by what people have said to me about it.
Mm,
Um, Random people and people that I haven't talked to in ages have like just messaged me saying, "Hey, like this has been really like moving," and it's actually prompted conversation with their mums and daughters. You know what I mean? Like I think there was someone who messaged me the other day, like on Instagram, and hey, I just
mm,
I actually started talking to my mom about like what a mother's love looks like, that kind of thing. I was like, man, like I think that was also the idea of like we're putting up posters in Auckland and Christchurch. Oh, I got some funding for the song, which is awesome. That's another thing too. Every time I'm like, I'm giving this up, God's like, here's some funding. Okay, God, thanks, Lord. Like with the song, like I've been applying for funding for ages, and I'm like, this is the one, this is the hit. Never gets the funding,
mm.
but when it's about something that's really vulnerable or about him, it's like, here you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so we end up putting posters up and around, and for me, it was just kind of like, man, I don't know if I've seen any mums like on a poster driving down the street. Like, I wonder if that'll actually provoke some conversation about like,
Mm,
whoa, what is motherhood? Like, what does that look like? Like, what
yeah.
is the value of parenthood?
I think that's actually like 'cause obviously Evangelion's mission is evangelization, and I think when you
Mm.
think of evangelization, I remember I was talking to a friend, and she's Catholic, but like on one of those on the peripheries, maybe more cultural Catholic. Turned up to all the events though, and I mentioned evangelism, and she was like, "Oh no, we can't do that. That's horrible when people do that." And she's thinking of like people that attack you in the streets with a Bible, and like
Yeah,
I'm sure that produces some fruit. There's some amazing conversion stories through that and stuff. But like in this journey of starting this apostolate and trying to evangelize, I've realized that evangelism is it's broad, as deep as the ocean. We
yeah,
and like I think coming back to like talking to people about true things and talking about how we were saying earlier, music can cut through, to bash
Yeah.
through people's barriers because if you have an awesome tune, is that someone can like, oh man, that's really good, and then they listen to
Yeah.
the lyrics, and
Yeah.
then it affects them on a deeper level. And what Chris West is talking about, the Twisted Mystics, it's like he's saying that they're seeking the best song, and if you're
Yeah.
seeking the best anything, you're seeking the truest, the most good, the most beautiful. And you're transcendentals, and you're finding God, and that's what they're accidentally doing, um, without realizing it. I suppose
Cool.
your music is an evangelism, and then we get into the, discussion around Christian music, and people have opinions about that.
Yeah.
But like, what? Yeah. So like, obviously, I'm now saying that you're an evangelist through this song. How do you feel about that? And like, what do you think about using music as an evangelistic tool?
Um, you were actually the one who told me that, like, this was at chaplaincy. I wasn't working there yet, but I remember being like, "Ah, I mean, I was a real crap Catholic or something." I don't know. I was talking to you. I remember it was in the chapel, and then you were like, "Ah, Shana, when you get to heaven, God's not gonna be like, were you Catholic? Like, God's gonna look at you and like how you like you." Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't be Catholic or whatever. Like, Catholicism isn't valuable, but you were saying, I think you must have mentioned, and I could be wrong, which means you were wrong. But like, it was like, maybe Mother Teresa had said, like, if you're like a Muslim, be the best Muslim you can be, or like that thing you were saying about like seek the truest thing, seek the best
Mm,
thing, and you'll probably get to the place. You probably get to the truth, like, um, and I don't know why I like put that up, but I think I was gonna say like I don't really like I don't really care about what other people think about Christian music or whatever. If they have opinions, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if all that matters is that, um, like, I'm just being a witness. That's all.
mm. Well, I
Like,
suppose it's like
were
we
you
should have like
wrong? Was I
no,
wrong?
no. I definitely did say that. The point I was driving at is if it's like that kind of thing. Is like there's no salvation outside of the church,
Mm,
which begs the question: what's the church?
yeah,
And the church is the way, the truth, and the life.
yeah,
And so, if you're seeking truth, if you're a Muslim and you seek truth in
yeah,
your Islam, in your Buddhism, and
yeah.
once you've sought truth, you'll find truth. And like, say you're in an environment where there's no such thing as Christianity. An interesting experience I had, whilst I was at university, I met somebody that doesn't really know anything about Christianity. They've never
Mm,
heard the Our Father before. And like coming from England, which is a Christian nation, and we're in New Zealand, which it definitely used to be a Christian nation, it's like, what? You don't
yeah,
you don't even know the Our Father?
yeah,
What's going on? Because like when I was at primary school, it's something that was kind of taught in primary school, and so you even if you're a Muslim, you'd know it.
yeah,
Um, and so like if you're in that situation where you've never had any experience of the Gospels, what's important is that you seek what is true,
yeah,
truth, goodness, beauty. You seek those things, and then you'll find God. And like I think, I mean, this might get a bit of pushback, but like if you can't put God into a Catholic box, and like if you go into the Catholic box, you'll definitely find God because Jesus set up the Catholic Church. But God is so much more than that as well.
yeah.
And I think it's Saint Damien of Molokai. I remember hearing a quote, and it was he was asked like, "Well, what about Buddhists? Do they go to heaven?" And he
Mm,
said, "I don't know if Buddhists will go to heaven, but I know that Christians can go to heaven because that's the way they're set forward. It's like Buddhists might get in from it,
Yeah.
but Christianity definitely can get in
Yeah.
within reason. Obviously, there's that whole
Yeah.
line. I've met really nice atheists and really horrible Christians. It's like, yeah, welcome to humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. I like. Yeah. I'm trying to form what I want to say about this, but like I think when people talk about this stuff, I think they're asking the wrong question.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is that like that's why I'm like I don't really care what you think about it. I don't really care what your opinion is. It's like I don't know what God sees. Like God could be saving somebody through this thing that's not Christian. Like He did for me. Um, like obviously it's not like the end, but like um, yeah, like just because you chuck a Christian label on it doesn't mean it's
Yeah,
effective.
and I think you get like that label of Christian music, and you think of really cheesy praise and worship songs. I remember when
Yeah,
I just converted to Catholicism, there was this Protestant fellow I was pretty good mates with, and there was this song. I was learning some praise and worship songs, and I just got really bored with them because it's a four-chord progression over and over again. It's just really kind of simple, and I guess it's because it's congregational singing or something. It's like this song's rubbish, and he's like, "Well, you're gonna be singing it in heaven." I was like, "I don't think so."
that's funny.
like you're gonna be singing like the sentiment of it in heaven, but maybe not this. I hope not.
Well, and saying that though, like someone could think of that song being like, "This is amazing. This is actually
Yeah.
getting me to the Lord." Like, oh man, ask me a question because I feel like I could go like anywhere with this. So I need to be like reined in. So
Well,
give
you
me give
start,
me
and I'll
something.
rein you in as you're going along.
No, because I feel
No.
like I might be. Yeah, I feel like I might be uncharitable or something. I don't know.
Well,
I'm
because
like
like
not
I
sure where
think
I'm gonna go.
well, what I'm like your song Lily's March.
Yeah,
That's a Christian song without being Christian music.
sure.
And
Yeah.
so, but we only realized that in this conversation because we were talking about how it's related to people the truth of motherhood, and
Yes.
that's not a Christian concept, motherhood, but like the way that you've talked about motherhood has caused people to go deeper into truth and maybe their faith. It's caused them to seek God in a truthful way, in a good way, in a beautiful way, and therefore it is a Christian song. But like it wouldn't necessarily fit the category of Christian music in the sense that you wouldn't necessarily play it at a praise and worship night. And I feel like Christian music gets categorized into praise and worship music, which is a very specific kind of thing. And like, obviously, I mean, from my perspective, obviously, you're not going to listen to that all the time.
Hmm.
I have quite an eclectic music taste because I feel like every song has its place.
Yeah.
Be it screamo music or opera or praise and worship or Lily's
Or the happy
March.
birthday song.
Yeah, I guess it has its place. One
Yeah,
very
and birthdays.
specific place. I could talk about the happy birthday song. I'm not going to. I was about to. I had to hold my stuff then. I have opinions. This is what the podcast is for.
Really?
Next episode is my opinions
Just
on
hot
the happy birthday.
takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what I should use Instagram stories for. Just
Yeah, hot
my
take. Straight.
this is my hot take of the day. The happy birthday song is crap and it shouldn't be singing. Unless it's the Stevie Wonder one. I think
I
that's
was
the
gonna
one.
say,
Yeah.
unless it's the Stevie Wonder. Yep,
This is a
that's so
great
good.
short for YouTube. So I mean, do you have like an opinion on Christian music that you could share? When we're talking about Christian music, we're specifically talking about praise and worship.
Okay. So you're not talking about say like Christian hip hop or something like that. Christian, because there's
Ah, that's a
when
good
I say
point.
when I say
Oh
Christian
yeah.
music, I say I'm thinking just songs that are
If you put on Life FM,
yeah, well that
the
Christian hip hop is
majority of
there.
those songs, because like having said that, I've recently found some really good stuff,
Yeah.
Christian artists on YouTube. But like, it seems to me that there's this phrase, there's this quote from Martin Luther. That's a Christian shoemaker doesn't make shoes with crosses on it. He makes really good shoes. And I feel like often, whenever a Christian does something, be it a movie or a song or a story or whatever, it's like, let's just put a cross on it, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because way back when I wrote a bunch of songs, I made my own little EP. I never released it or anything. I think I've lost it now. It's gone forever. It's all in my
Oh
head.
no.
It was on a laptop that died.
Sitting, waiting, wishing.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. See, I remember, brother.
You like
I
the guy that
remember.
interviews music artists. It brings up things they did in the past. Anyway, you've embarrassed me now. Anyway, and there was this guy that was trying to start up a Catholic radio station in London, and he said, "The songs you're singing, we could change that word to Jesus, and it would be a Christian song." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could ruin the song if you wanted to." That's not what I was singing about.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about shoes with crosses on rather than really good shoes.
Are you asking me if like one is better or one is like?
Let's ju-
I'll tell you what I think.
let's just
You're
tell me what you think, and we'll work out
okay.
what I mean.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're externally processing all at once, all together. So let me tell you just from my experience. So I was part of a Catholic record label, Enemy Love Records, which you should check out.
Mm.
Everyone on there, Emma and David are incredible. They're like, I call them my mom and dad. I'm just gonna say it. We're all family out here. It's my brother, my mom and dad. So I
In
was,
Christ,
yeah.
what do their
Actually,
noses look like?
they're not like mine. So actually, it was around that time I was feeling really crap about like I've been writing this EP for ages, and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then Emma reached out to me and she said, "Hey, just letting you know, I've been listening to this one song. That's awesome." And that made me go, "Oh man, okay, Lord, what's going on?" Fast forward, we've been like chatting, and she said, "Hey, I'm actually like my husband and I are wanting to put out albums at the end of the year. Would you be keen to open for us in Brisbane?" And then I was like, "Okay." And then it's like, "Actually, my main thing is that we're starting a Catholic record label. We would like to sign you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But I had already spoken to her like in the beginning. I was like, "Hey, so is this gonna be like a record label where they're gonna be Catholic musicians on it, but it's just a record label? So it's just like whatever music, or is it gonna be like marketed as this is Catholic music?" And they were going towards this like Catholic music thing, and I was like, "Okay." In all honesty, like throughout my sort of music career, that was never my thing. And I'm not saying that like it's not a thing, that like it shouldn't be a thing, but it was just not my walk. Because I would find myself in situations where I was like I found fruit when I was around people that weren't Catholic who listened to the music that I was making, just honest music. I wasn't like trying to, like it was just like you said, just speaking truth and living my faith out. Like I wasn't hiding the fact that I wasn't Catholic or whatever. And I have had like situations where I've said no to collaborations because it uh, it disagreed with my faith. Um, but I've had really awesome conversations with people who haven't been who aren't Catholic, who have just s- maybe started thinking about it or whatever, like faith, God, whatever that is, spirituality, or and that was always my heart. And so it kind of I grappled with it a little bit, and I've had like really frank conversations with Emma and David about it. Um, uh, and I've realized that like that's why I don't really have an opinion in a way that's like I this is a good thing, this is a bad thing. I realized that both of us like were doing God's work, but in different ways. Their heart was in really like putting out great Catholic music.
Mm.
To Because at the moment there's not really like when you think of praise and worship, we've got like our like Protestant brothers and sisters who are doing really awesome job,
Mm.
at doing that. But I don't really know, like Catholic names aren't really out there as much,
Mhm.
and they have a really specific heart. So I'm not on the label anymore, although we are still like we still I'm still really close to them, and I want to keep them as like mentors and stuff like
Mhm.
that, because I know, like, if I'm going to be in those spaces, I can't do this by myself. I need to have community around me. um my heart specifically is like, it's the same way that I think about motherhood. Like, I'm a mom, so whatever I do is going to be through a mom lens.
Mhm.
Music, so I'm going to write about being a mom because that's my life. Like, or the way that I see society, I'm going to be seeing it as like, oh my gosh, they should have this because this would be really helpful for parents. Like, that's my reality, and I feel like, as I'm a Catholic, and that's how I'm going to live my life. Um and I'm just going to live my life genuinely and truthfully, and like, strive to be the best Catholic I can
Mhm.
be. Um and yeah, I mean, I've written songs about God. I
Mm.
you know, but I've also written songs that are not about God.
Yeah, yeah,
But I believe that, like, I'm just gonna leave it up to the Lord to use whatever He needs to reach whoever He needs to reach, and so I just want to keep it simple for me.
yeah. I think when I was asking you a question in my head, it was way more simpler. But and it's like I remember you telling me when you first started dating Hayden, you started a conversation and you asked him what's his favorite color, and you thought that you were going to get a color, but you got
I
an
didn't.
explanation into what color is as a concept.
Oh no, I got a color combination. He just said, I just like contrast. I was like, what the heck does that mean?
Okay.
That's what you get when you date a freaking artist.
There you go. And well, and it's similar when you ask a musician, what do you think about a particular type of music? You're like, well, you don't
Damn.
understand that there is what music is. You don't know what you just said. It's like I actually had a really cool. I should do the podcast about this as well. I had a really cool experience. A friend of mine who's a Buddhist asked me what is the mass, and it took about 15 minutes for me to gather. It's like, you do want me to answer this question, right? Because I'm going to talk about the mass, and
Yeah.
it's going to go on for a while, just so you know. And she was like, got to the point, she was like, did I ask the right question? No, 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 no. You asked the
You
right
did.
question. I just want you to know who you asked, you know?
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful thing. And maybe I'll tell
Cool.
you guys about it more later.
Do
But
it.
yeah, I think what we touched on there was like what music is, and like I said, there's a type of music for everything, and there's certain music will touch people in certain ways, and what actually, and it's something I want to get onto in a moment. You've touched on it so many times. Is I read this letter to artists from St. John Paul II, St. John Paul the Great, the second John Paul that is great is also a saint.
The second grade.
He's
No, just
no,
kidding.
he's the one that. Anyway, moving on. I get confused because he has a few titles. Anyway,
Yeah.
and he talks about the relationship between God and humanity as creator and craftsman,
Yeah.
and how they seem the same thing because craftsmen create things,
Mm.
but craftsmen create things with created things.
Mm.
And so God has created everything and he's put us into the world to craft what he has created.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a beautiful relationship, and I'll get into it in a bit. But to finish off the point we were talking about, I liked how you were talking about like the way that you approach music is you're just going to do your thing in your way, which is exactly what God is calling us to do in all of our lives, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a
Yeah.
painting artist, a musician, nurse, fireman, you name it. We're called to be a craftsman in that area and to be the person we've been created to be. And for some people, that's cheesy praise and worship music, but it's crafting that. For some people, it's
Yeah.
opera. For some people, you're just looking at that, and yeah, and I think that's how we're going to evangelize. That's how we're going to witness. We're going to be the person that we are because God has
Yeah.
created us, and they're therefore going to see us in um, in what we produce, and what we produce is just going out every day. Like when that guy was
Yeah.
like saying, if we could change your song and just put Jesus here and there, it would be a Christian song. It's like, yeah, but then it would no longer reflect the person that wrote it.
Yeah. It's crazy to think. I have so many thoughts about that. I'm gonna try and say them all, not at once, but
Yeah.
anyway. So I remember like it's so crazy to me just to think that God could just do everything, but He asked us to participate in
Mm.
saving the world. Like so, I mean, He could say all the stuff more perfect, but now He's just wanting to use us and our brokenness to be
Mm.
able to reach other people. It's like I remember going to like Festival One and listening to this guy Strawn Cole.
Strong.
Anyway, Strawn. Yeah. He was talking about this whole kind of creativity thing. I was like on that buzz. And something that he said was like artists back in the day, they were literally like their task was to represent what was real in a way that like I mean like it just kind of added their flavor to it or whatever, but that's what an artist's kind of role was, is to whatever was already exists is representing it to people so that they can see it in a new way. And I don't believe like people being like, oh, this is really new and exciting. It's like it's actually not. Like it's actually not. um I view my role as an artist to represent what is already real in a way that I can process, but also maybe help other people to process too. That's just, you know,
Mm.
just to express what's happening. Motherhood is not a very like a unique experience in, the world, but it's a unique experience to me because I'm going through it. And so I'm singing about it in a way that I can. Um, so that's like one thought. And the other thought is like, probably the reason why I say like I don't care about your opinion is because a lot of the opinions are talking about the hierarchy of music. Is chant better? Is this better? Is this better?
Mm.
Hey, if we're asking a question, sure. Like it's, but I feel like that's the wrong question.
Yeah.
Like, like for example, like sure, this this is deemed a hot take, but it shouldn't be a hot take. Like, yeah, of course, religious life is like in the hierarchy of things, religious life is
Mm.
up here and parent marriage is down here because like they're already living heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, duh. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but am I called to that? Like, just because it's the best, does that mean that I'm called to it? No, the
Mm.
best thing that I can do right now is the thing that I'm called to, which is parenthood. Um, and I'm not going to be useful up here if I'm living this thing. Um, like you got to be humble about that. Like, and so it really irks me when people are like, ah, okay, I'm just gonna say this because it's there are people who will badmouth praise and worship or like not participate in it or make people feel like they can't participate in it because especially in our Catholic circle for some reason. I know that a lot of Protestants are like that's how they worship the Lord. And so for some reason it doesn't like correlate with Catholicism. Like we shouldn't do that because it's Protestant. But I'm like,
Yeah.
girl, have you read the Bible? They read the Bible really well. Let me tell you. But anyway, see, I'm just getting really annoyed. But it's like you're asking the wrong question, my
Yeah.
friend. We all know. We all know the angel singing is like the highest form of music. But can you just be humble? You're a measly human,
Yeah.
and these people out here are being the best that they can be, and they're listening to. They're communicating with the Lord right now through praise and worship. Um, like I can't I can't peg the guy. I can't peg where the Holy Spirit's gonna go.
Hmm.
If he's gonna use a hip hop song to reach somebody, so be it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if I made it any
Well,
sense.
yeah, and I think, well, I mean, you hit on a few, like, you hit on a lot of things, but like that last point, like, I think, there is a time and place for everything. For chant, and liturgical music, that's a whole
Yeah,
thing in itself. And I'm not going to
like
get into
I'm not gonna like I, just a point there. Like I'm not saying that we should play praise and worship at mass or whatever. Like definitely, there's a time and place. There is appropriate music and appropriate places and times. But if you're going, if the question, if people are always talking about like what's better,
yeah.
it's like
Well, one of my more recent gripes that I've come up into whilst trying to do the Lord's work is, whenever you form a group, you start hanging out, everything's good, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, why don't we try and, we're Catholics, put some sacraments in there. It's like, great idea, let's do that. It's like, well, you know, really, the best thing we can be doing is going to mass. It's like, yeah, but what happens at the end of mass? Go, leave. Mass is over. Get out of here. It's like, yeah, well, if we're not meeting at mass, are we really Catholic? It's like, yes, we're Catholic in a cafe. We're cafe Catholics and we're mass Catholics, and we're meeting in this place because we're bringing Catholicism here. We can meet up in a different context, and then
yeah,
we
man,
start get debating theology and philosophy, and it's like, you're making good points, and they're all correct, and you're missing what I'm talking about. Let's
yeah,
reduce everything. The only thing, and I think this is the biggest problem with evangelism in Catholicism is people only want to go to mass, and like they've got a really good reason for that. The problem is no one knows what mass is. The Protestants don't realize it's all scriptural. The atheists or agnostics just think it's weird. They think it's too religious and not enough spiritual, and they're like, so like, why don't we meet them where they're at and bring them to a place where then they can say, let's not hang out in the cafe, let's go to mass, But like, yeah, so and yeah, it's the same with music of like, you can't, yeah, there is a point where you can't criticize any type of music generally. I mean, obviously, if something is objectively awful,
sure,
and like again, then you wouldn't put reggae in a mass, you wouldn't put screamo in a mass, but you might. And I was told this by a friend of mine who's quite into screamo music. Apparently, a lot of it, the lyrics are quite Christian. Um, but yeah, yeah, I think what we can get into, because I feel like we've touched on parenthood, we've touched on music and stuff, and like I think I'd like to get more into this like kind of creator craftsman thing, because then maybe more people can relate to that. And one thing that kind of occurred to me whilst I was reflecting on all this, I was actually listening to this clip from Lila Rose. Can't remember what she said, but what made me think of it was, oh yeah, it's like that eternal perspective, and how like I feel like there's lots of these in being a Christian and a Catholic, there's lots of these fundamental elements that, like, if you do these 10 things, you're going to be set, and one of them is having a perspective of heaven. That's where we're meant to be. That's where we're going. How do I live my life? I live my life in a way that will get me to heaven. And you can go into the details by looking at the church, but bringing it back to this craftsman creator relationship, it reminded me of St. Thomas Aquinas, that story where he wrote I think the Summa Theologiae, put it in the altar, and then realized it's all dust. Is the quote, and
yep.
like, so what I thought of here, I'll just read what I wrote so I don't get it wrong. Probably the grammar's probably awful though. Anyway, So we need to have an eternal perspective in our whole lives. We are craftsmen. We can be the world's greatest craftsmen, and we should be, but all the while remain fully aware that we are crafting things that have been created for us. I believe this eternal perspective will. I believe this eternal perspective will also add to the quality of our work because our purpose behind the work is or has a correct orientation. God wants to work with us. He wants to see what we produce and bless our plans and elevate them. That means we've got to start crafting, which is to say, we must start truly living. God created us and desires us to be like Him, Christian, Christ like. Part of participating in this relationship is setting to the work in front of us, making things good, making good things. The risk is that we get distracted by what we made and not why we made it, and that can shift our eyes from heaven to earth. There's nothing necessarily wrong with earthly success, only when it is for the sake of success itself and not for the success of God's sake. Oof, tongue twister at the end there. But like I was thinking about this specifically when you were talking about how you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm gonna throw the towel in, or I think, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this song's gonna be the hit because I've hit all the points that they said I should, and then, but it's then when it's that moment that bursts into your life, a God moment, if you will, that everything starts to rise. So, any
Mm-hmm.
comments, any thoughts?
Yeah, everything that you said, like, I think humility is a really, like, probably the that's the prayer I always pray before I get on the stage, or like because I need it. Um, I actually have like on my wall right now, something that I wrote down. It's like whenever I spin out about music, because I always will. I think I'm always going to. But to ground me, and like it's like put things in priority. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just like whenever this happens, these are the things, like the reason why you're doing it or whatever. And it's like just prioritizing God first, like, and to realize that what you do is a gift. It's not something to like, so you should give it. It's a gift that you shouldn't keep, but to give. And it's, but anyway, like to get to your point, um, like again, this was you. You told me this too at Chaplaincy,
Pretty
that there's only
wise.
two things that you need to think about. It's the eternal perspective and the present. Because like you're, because yeah, that you're kind of like walking these two. You're balancing this thing where you're like, yep, I know I'm not meant to be here, and so I need to put my perspective eternally. But how I do that, how I, like how I follow God's commandments is by following God's commandments today.
Mm.
It doesn't, and I have definitely in my journey of like music, it's like that's definitely been a distraction for me of like, okay, well, I'm gonna plan my future. I'm gonna do this and this, and it's gonna like, this is gonna be my career, blah 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 blah. Like my journey in music has been so different to what I thought it would be. Like I thought I had to lay it down when I became a mom, but for some reason, God keeps opening doors. More so now that I've got a family. Um, and I keep asking him, how the heck is it gonna work?
Mm.
But um, like I'm hoping I tie this in. I can't like I'm just trying to follow this thought, but like if I know I'm doing what I'm called to well, then I shouldn't worry about what happens to my music. It's when I worry about what will happen to it, whether it'll give me success or not, that I get distracted. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I'm not leaning onto God's providence. I'm not trusting. And so it's like, as I always ask him, it's always like an all or nothing thing. Like, oh, do you want me to do this or not? It's like God's like saying, yeah, I want you to do it. Like, I gave you the gift,
Yeah.
but you're wanting. you're wanting like fruit right now, you're wanting to see
Mm.
things right now. I didn't ask you to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I just asked you to make stuff. I just asked you to do what you need to do right now. I just asked you to
Well, I
write the
suppose
song.
the question you've got to ask yourself is, do you want your fruit now or do you want your fruit in heaven? Because that's what God says to us in the scriptures. It's like these people that you see succeeding, they
Mm.
have their they have their fill, but you will have your fill in heaven, but you won't experience what they're experiencing now.
I think maybe it's more like not even thinking about the fruit.
Well, yeah,
I
yeah.
I think because it reminds me of like Mother Teresa, for example, right? Like she went through this kind of dark night of the soul, and she was even like, I don't even know if there is a heaven,
Mm,
but
wow.
I'm just gonna keep doing this because I love you. And so that's what I'm trying to strive for, I guess, is that like it's a gift that he's given me, and that maybe it's just the way that we communicate, that's the
Mm,
gift in itself. And so like I'm just I'm just keeping on doing it because it seems like he just wants me to keep doing it. And that's what's simple about it. You know what I mean? Like I don't right now, I might care tomorrow, but it'll be, but like I shouldn't care whether or not I get fruit from it in heaven or not, or
no,
even
yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah.
So it's just I think it's more like
I think something that
yeah.
occurred to me while you're talking is like it's kind of like trying to be cool. If you're trying to be cool, you'll never be cool. But
Straight up.
the way that you're cool is that if you focus on, you know, the example that comes to mind, and you might appreciate this, is I heard in an interview with Steph Curry. He was playing against Kobe. Do you know the interview I'm talking about?
No, no,
No?
no.
Okay. So Kobe was coming at him. Was it,
Yeah.
they call him the Black Mamba or something? Anyway,
Yes.
he's like, he was doing his Kobe thing, and Steph
Yeah.
Curry was like, "Oh no, I'm against Kobe,"
Yeah.
and like he was like on him, like going hard, and like Steph
Yeah.
was like trying to get out of it, dribbling. It
Yeah.
got to the point where he was absolutely out of steam, and he just threw like a 3 pointer and sunk it, and he was like, that was the coolest thing in the world. But he was at the time, he was
He
like,
was not feeling cool.
no, he was feeling cool, but he was like, don't let him know, don't let him know. And then he
Ah.
got to the
Yeah.
locker room after. He's like, I'm gonna need that tape. He's like, he scored one on Kobe,
Yeah.
and but like again, that cool moment would never have happened if he wasn't dedicated to his craft.
Yeah.
And so
Oh, I
like,
gotcha.
and so we need to be dedicated to our craft.
Yes.
Um, you know, one thing, at work, when I moved to the emergency department, I was like, I was the IV resource nurse in my ward, but we never had IV lines, so I was a big fish in a puddle, you know. And then I was like, I came to AD and I was like, I need to find all this equipment. We have these trolleys, and I was like, oh, what do I do? How do I do this? And I thought to myself, I was like, in a few weeks, this isn't going to be a problem, but right now, I just have to take 5 minutes to make sure I've got all the equipment. And then it was like a couple of weeks ago, I was going to do an IV line, and I just opened all the drawers and pulled out the things without even thinking about it. I was like, I've done it.
That's
I've got it.
so
And what we need
funny.
to do, bringing it back to what we were talking about, is like getting into a flow state with where God has put us
Sure.
in life. He's
Yeah.
created as, parents, he's created as a musician or healthcare worker or accountant or whatever. And, he's also asked us to make disciples of all nations. Like in my life, that looks like doing Evangelion.
Yeah.
In your life, it's about writing songs that have a deep truth,
Yeah.
a truth that comes from you, that was given to you by God, and you're the craftsman of that
Right.
truth. And yeah, so I think and the last episode was like, on how do we be holy?
Hmm.
And I guess that's it. Just we've got to get into that flow state. And when the idea of a flow state is when you're in it, time stops. You
Mhm.
don't know, you don't even realize you're doing the things you need to do, but you're nailing
Mhm.
it every time. You're hitting every note. You're on the beat, and
Mhm.
everything's just going, and you don't realize you nailed it until like 20 minutes later, because at in the time it doesn't matter. You're
Mhm.
doing the thing that you need to do, and
Mhm.
that's with us in life. We have the things we need to do. I talked about it like a healthy life is eat well, sleep well, and exercise. A healthy faith life is prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. You know, we get into that flow state where, and those things, we don't need the rules. We
Mhm.
don't need to be told that Sunday is a holy day of obligation. We don't need to be told to do our morning prayers and stuff. The day's finished and you don't know if you've
Mhm.
prayed because you have, because it's been part of your life. And then, like you say, the fruit in heaven doesn't matter. The fruit on earth doesn't matter because you've just been doing the thing.
I think it's more like ah man, thought just kind of like gone. But yeah, I get what you mean. Um, I think it's a struggle. Um, so I'm a big lover of San Jose Maria,
Mm-hmm.
and he always talks about like sainthood is a struggle, like because we're on earth, right? And so like to get to that flow state, like there are gonna be days where there are gonna be days when you're not, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's the whole thing about being present and just doing the best you can with what you've got. Um, and so you might get into the flow state,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
more you do it, you know. Um, yeah, I think what that makes me think of is that I guess the idea of being a craftsman, like if you're consistently doing the best you can and practicing, et cetera, like you're going to be making good things. Um, you're honoring the gift that you've been given,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like now more than ever, it's really important to do that. And I think just in terms of like creativity and like like the arts, let's say, it's just really hard at the moment because especially when you become a parent or whatever, like that stuff, like and I've fallen privy to it, like that stuff kind of goes to the other side because you're like, no, we need to, like it's not a responsible thing anymore, like, or I don't know, maybe it's just my view at the moment, but it just feels like the arts aren't being valued because they're not productive,
Mm.
right?
Well, yeah, yeah.
And in like a way, but and this is why I spin out with music because I'm like, what am I doing this for, etc.
Mm. Mm.
But then I write something like Lily's March and I put it out. I don't expect anything to come out of it, but then people start to like say, hey, like this is this thing, like I'm moved by this, and with the rise of like AI and like just how the world is right now, I'm sensing like, man, like we need people who are craftsmen. We need people who are doing the best they can and making good things because I think that's going to actually more than ever pierce through and get people thinking about the Lord again. Um because like it's a big topic at the moment, a big, like I'm anyway, like with AI and stuff, but just in terms of like
Mm. Oh
the
my
creative
gosh.
arts and stuff, like just how
I don't know how to deal with the AI.
look like as if we're talking about like how you're saying God is creator and we are craftsmen. God created reality, and so as a craftsman, my medium is reality. That's how
Yeah.
I see it, and so like that's my paints, that's my whatever, and I think AI destroys that because it's not real.
Mm.
Like, or and it takes away the dignity of the craftsman actually making this, like, there's something happens when a person takes reality and creates with it.
That's true.
There's a dignity in that. So if you take out the person and the creation, it's not, I don't know, that's just my
No, no,
take. That's my hot
I get
take.
where you're coming with that. And like, two things come to mind. One thing, a guy called Jonathan Pajot. I was listening to a talk he gave on like art, and he's a iconographer and various other things to do with art. And he was talking about how the modern conception of art is a painting. You know, when you think of art, you think of paintings. That's what art is, or sculptures. But art is not the product, it's the process. And
Yep.
so, because what it used to be was someone would be able to, make the art of making a spoon, he gives the example of. And what we would call now an artisan spoon was just a spoon, because there was no mass production of spoons and knives and
Sure.
forks. And so, if you need a spoon, you needed to go to the spoon guy who can make really good spoons. And the making of the spoon was a process where you carved it out of a tree,
Mm.
or like, you made a spoon, and then they would add their flair onto it, and they would put designs onto it, and then the art of making a
Mm.
spoon is like you may look at the spoons that's very plain, but that's the most perfect spoon. And then he gives the example of, I think Donald Trump wrote a book, The Art of the Deal. And so again, it's not about the deal, but it's about the process of getting a deal. It's
Sure.
the art of, like, with nursing, it's a scientific endeavor, but there is an art to nursing. There is a way of doing it that is
Yeah.
superior to other ways of doing it that can only be expressed by the person doing it. And it's not something you can really teach. It's something you have to discover and
Yeah.
craft and hone. Um, but yeah. So that's the one thing I was thinking about, and like again, just a short one with AI. What the one thing that I've heard that people keep bringing up is like AI is not a replacement for humans; it's a tool. And so, whereas you can be like, write me a love poem because I want to send something to my wife, it'll write you a love poem. It's like, yeah, now take that love poem and make it for your wife. It's like that's the inspiration, that's the starting blocks. It's giving you a template, it's giving you an idea, and then you make it your own, and that's what makes it art. I mean, when it comes to the images that are coming out, and apparently some really high quality stuff, I can barely make this microphone work. I'm not going to go start working. Maybe if I had AI, the microphone would work. I don't know. But like, so I'm not going to start getting into AI. But again, thinking about bringing those two ideas together, art is a craft. When
Mm.
you're doing a painting, it's not about is the painting correct.
Yeah.
It's about the painting itself. There is one painting, and we do prints of the painting. Yeah, and it gives you. It's like taking a photograph. It's fine. It's its own thing.
Mm.
But mass-produced spoons, we've ruined spoons because now everyone has a spoon. Maybe it's got some icon design on it. Maybe they've got a black spoon or a gold
Yeah.
spoon. But they're mass produced, and now we don't know what spoon, the art of what a good spoon is. We just know what spoons are. They're just tools that we use, and AI can mass produce art that looks nice that you can put on your wall, but it's not art. We've lost what a spoon was,
Yeah.
and therefore, again, just look at the architecture of the world. Glass buildings and prefab office blocks.
I was gonna say, like, just because artificial has art in it doesn't mean it's art. I'm Shane. Just because it's got the word in it doesn't mean it's like it fits in there. Like, I just don't. I mean, I make electronic music. Sure, people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're just you're bagging on AI, but you make electronic music." Like, well, yeah, but I'm actually doing something. Like, it takes me
Mhm.
time, and
Well,
the
yeah, I mean, it's not even the time or the equipment used, it's the person that does it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And if you take that away, like for a robot to do. It's not like Hayden is. I think he's right, but he's just always buzzed out at the fact that like Lily is just like scribbling, and he's just like, this is the most incredible thing in the world. Um, but he was just saying like, man, any kid scribble is gonna be way better than whatever AI can make because it's been made by a person.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah. And this is one of the things that's really hard to articulate about the arts. It's
yeah,
something that everyone knows if they stop and think about it for a while, but I guess I don't want to sound one of those doom and gloom guys, but we like the society promotes, well, we've moved into like a scientific kind of culture where it's, you know, we don't want we don't want beauty. We want something that works, and it has to be just pure logically, and it has to be cold. It has to be unfeeling. It has to be a thing that just happens. Like the spoons is a great example. You know, like cutlery. We've got two sets of cutlery. We must have 1,000 knives and forks in our drawer, and we don't know
mm,
who made them because no one made them. You know,
mm.
and the same with bed sheets. The same with even now with houses. They can 3D print houses now. And so it's like, where's it's a different kind of art. It's a digital art, but like and like, I mean, I can go on forever about the houses in New Zealand. It's like, that's a nice
Yeah,
house. Oh, that that's not, that's three houses.
yeah, man.
And like,
Oh, that's 8 houses on one lot. Dang.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
There was one house there.
Yep.
Now there's 25. But like,
Yes.
and you
Hmm.
know, yeah, the beauty is the beauty, the goodness, and the truth, the essence of what it is, the humanity is kind of being taken out of things that we need that should also be beautiful. But the need is outdoing the greater need, which is the need for beauty, goodness, and truth.
I think as you're talking, like, because I was thinking about this actually at the doctor's,
Right?
um, because follow me, but like it's gonna be a thing. But I was just looking at like they were promoting these doctors or whatever, and they're like, I'm this doctor, and I do this thing. It's not particularly like a Catholic thing, I'd say, or promoting pole dancing or whatever, like that kind of thing at the doctor's. And I'm like, okay,
What doctors do you go
um,
to?
look, just a normal doctor. But anyway, it was just like, um, I thought, wow, like just because you have like you have a degree that backs you, or like you're like a doctor or like a scientist, or like scientists say, or a researcher or whatever,
Mm,
then people automatically think, okay, this is a place I can trust. Um, and I think that's like, to be honest, like just our our society at the moment is like, I think skeptical. I think maybe it's a need of truth. It's seeking truth and trying to find solid ground because maybe things aren't solid right now or whatever. Like, this is just a thought that I've had. Like, and that's why I think beauty is really important because, like, this is when people start to like separate things again. Where like we were talking about this, say like even when we were in like the chaplaincy and stuff, people were debating about transcendentals, like, oh, is
mm,
beauty a thing, blah blah, blah. I'm like, it's because you don't understand beauty, my friend. Um like when people start to separate stuff like that, you don't get the full picture. You know what I mean? And this might not relate, but it also made me think of like a friend of mine. She had a group of Christians together, and they had written like really awesome kind of just thought provoking articles. Um, and she was saying like, with Protestants, how you are saved by like if you make an assent of being like, okay, Jesus, you are my Lord and Savior. You know, like this intellectual assent. And then she was like, "Well, what about my intellectually disabled brother? How is he gonna get saved if he can't actually intellectually assent to that?" Like, I think when people separate stuff, like if it's all logic, if it's all thoughts, if it's all this, what about those people who maybe don't have the capacity to do that? And that's what the beauty of our faith is. Like I talked to my friend about this, and she's like, "Well, our the mass is so bodily. Like it's not a problem to us. Like I have a friend whose sister's altar serve, and they're participating in the mass. Like anyway, all I'm saying is that like when people, it just feels like people are shutting God out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, man, you're hitting on so many things there, but like what we need to bring back to the world, and I think this is talked about a lot, but I don't think there is a obvious way forward with it. But we need to reintegrate beauty into the world. I heard that there was a state in America that made a new law that if you're making a new building, it has to meet certain building regulations, which are it has to be good looking, it has to be beautiful. And I've heard people talk before about architecture is if you if you walk into a beautiful building, it raises you up to be someone's like, I need to be someone worthy of being in this place. And so
Yeah.
you've got all these, council estates which are objectively awful looking, and you hear of the activities that go on those estates, and yeah, they match up perfectly. And I think it's coming back to that eternal perspective of like we need to pray that the people in making decisions have something coming close to that, and then like through our craft, be it in your case music, you have an opportunity to punch through with beauty. Like Bishop Barron is a big advocate of beauty, and it's because it's the one thing that's like undeniable. If
Mm-hmm.
something is genuinely beautiful, and you give someone that something that's beautiful, like my friend, he had a tough day, and I said, right, here's a song.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that I wanted to say. I wanted to take
Mm-hmm.
away her pain. I wanted to say the thing that would make her feel better, that would validate what she feels. But it's like, you know what? This song,
Says it all.
it's not even the words
Better.
that say it. It's the harmonies, it's the
True.
all the music that comes together, and it just resonates right here, and it heals something that's split
Mm.
open. Um,
Mm.
and I guess we should kind of bring this to an end because we're getting to an hour and 40. And I've got to get to bed.
How long are these podcasts actually meant to be?
Well, they've been 20 minutes up until now, so.
I told you this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, so we are craftsmen, and we need to turn to our Creator and look at the beauty look at the creation that He's put before us. And then we need to go into that with the heart of God, with that eternal perspective, and bring about in those places these transcendentals, which again, I don't want to get too caught up in the concept of them, but more get caught up in the love of God, which will then ultimately be these things, because these are deep truths. Like when I'm at work, my main objective is to make as many people laugh as possible, make them smile,
Cool.
because we're in an objectively horrible place and they're objectively
Mm.
not feeling the best.
Dude, hospitals, let me tell you,
They're not pretty.
is like I mean, I feel they're like the purest places. Like you can just feel life and death like happening, and whoever like I can't like I have just this thing with hospitals, man. It's crazy. Yeah, so you're freaking doing an
But
awesome
yeah,
job, dude.
so like, I mean, and like, so for the people listening that aren't musicians, that aren't artists, or that think that maybe they are, but the leap is too far, it's like you have already been given the tools that you need to do the thing that God's asking you to do. You're being
Yeah.
asked to craft what is in front of you and make it either good, beautiful, and true, or one of those three things. Another one that I relate a lot more with is the transcendental of oneness. God is one, three people in one, and therefore He's in everything, and everything is part of Him in a sense. I don't want to get too pantheistic and possibly say something heretical, but there is an element of oneness, and there's something that I discovered whilst I was at the chaplaincy, searching for God in all moments. And I think, as we step out into the world, let's just have that thought of like, okay, what am I a craftsman of? The one thing we definitely all have is time. People always comment to me, is like, I'm a husband, a father, a nurse, doing Evangelion. I've started like trying to do woodwork, and like, how do you have time for it? And it's amazing that if you put down your phone right in front of me, demanding my time are three little cretins, and they're the most adorable things in the world. They want my time, and so I don't need to question it. And then when they're asleep, put down your phone. And I've got time to work on myself, I've got time to work on my ministry, I've got time to work on my things. And then when I'm at work, I'm at work. Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about, there's 24 hours in a day. You spend 8 hours at work, 6 hours sleeping. Everything else defines who you are. And like, that's true. Even a twisted mystic. He might not be the most Christian. I don't know much about his faith.
It's funny. Speaking of time and speaking of the little critters, my little critter is crying, so I might have to go. So
Okay, well, we'll call it. I think we've brought it to a good place. And
yeah.
is there anything you want to get people to check out if they're listening to this podcast and they've never heard of Shana Graham or Valere for that matter?
Just have a listen. If you like it, let me know. Follow me on Instagram, Valere Music, and send me a message. I'm gonna put out an EP soon. Yeah, and that's all I want to say.
Yeah, I did want to talk to you about it because I love that song, but that's maybe for another time. In fact, I'm just going to leave it. You guys listen to it. Check her out on Spotify. Check her out on Instagram. Become friends with Shana. Help us to promote beauty. We've got something very beautiful here, something that touches the heart of women everywhere. If you're a woman, listen to it. If you're a man, give it a go.
Send it to your mum.
Send it to your mum. Oh, yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, if you're a bloke, send it to your mum, your sister, Spread this message, because, again, as much as we are supporting an artist here, what we're actually doing is we're helping people go deeper in their relationships. And all faith is, all evangelism is promoting a relationship with Jesus Christ. And if you want to get involved with what we're doing here at Evangelion, check us out at evangelion.co.nz. And we are looking for financial partners at the moment, so if you've got a bit of spare cash, chuck it our way, go on the Support Us tab.
Give us all your money.
That's right, Shana, she's still here. Give us all your money. We're looking for donors, monthly donors, so that we can create, we can be craftsmen of the world in front of us and bring truth, goodness, and beauty to all those people that have not yet experienced it. How sad is that? You could change someone's life today by starting donating to us so that we can change the world. Also, click on that link below, give me your details, and let's go out for a coffee and see how you can help me to help you to help Jesus make this a reality. I've been Dominic Malgeri. This lady here, where she has been
Shana Graham.
Check her out, Valere Music on Instagram. God bless.
Peace be to you. In with the problem of evil. Let us begin with